Alaikum everyone, Megan Wyatt here from a abnormally cloudy Southern California, and I had actually a reflection to share with all of you guys before I headed into the office to do some work, and that is the following. As women, we are often told, and I want you to think carefully with me here for just a minute, we're often told that whatever we do is fine. Follow your dreams, follow your passion, your career, whatever, so long as you don't compromise the home. So your primary role after you're married is to be a wife, and then after you have children is to be a mother. And the thing about that is that on the one hand, that is true. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 4 kids, I also homeschool, so I sacrifice a lot for my family, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy to do those things. But what happens when you take something that's true and you twist it in a way that's going to manipulate other people's lives so that they're no longer able to come into being for who they really, really are? And oh, subhanAllah, it's actually sprinkling. Alhamdulillah. It hardly ever rains here either. So if you see water, that would be rare too. Alhamdulillah. But when you think about things like, and we women, by the way, we're our own worst enemies in these things. Women come out to attack other women like myself, right? When we talk about follow your dreams, your passions, decide what you want to do, whether it's create that Etsy store, whether it's write that next book, whether it's launch that business to help people, whether that's get involved in activism, whether that's create dawah material, whether that's start a blog where you share meaningful reflections, whether that's you create a cooking channel, whether it's actually going and getting a job 9 to 5 because either you need to, you want to, it's something meaningful to you. No matter which way we talk about it, we always tear each other down and make it feel like any woman who has any aspirations for anything beyond wife and mother is somehow really bad. But as someone who's been working with women now for almost 8 years, specifically though when I'm talking about wives, since Wives of Jannah was started, all across the board, I can say that one of the things that consistently comes up over and over again, which is harming relationships, is the fact that the wife herself does not have any meaningful outlets for her. Yes, she has social gatherings, and they have family come over and things like that. But when it comes to activities that expand her horizons, really enriches her soul, brings her to life, she doesn't have that space. Either because she hasn't allowed herself to have that space, or because someone else has told her that she would be selfish if she chose that space, or she would be neglecting her children, neglecting her flock, neglecting her spouse for choosing that space. And I want us to just explore that for a moment, because when I read, the early pages of, the Sahaba, the Sahabiyat at the time, the early days of Islam, right? I see a group of dynamic women. I see women who are masters of things all across the spectrum. Now, granted, they didn't have universities back then, and they didn't have offices and buildings like I'm about to go into, and cubicles and things like that. They didn't have those things back then. All of your learning was hands-on. You would master something by being directly with someone. The needs of the community and their lives were very, very different. So it's very difficult to compare ourselves. But even if we did, even if we compared ourselves to people who lived over 1,000+ years ago, you would still find women that are so dynamic in so many fields, whether it was medicine, whether it's poetry, which is the equivalent of every field you can think of in literature and language arts today, right? Yes, also in raising their children and all of these things. But we have all these women, hundreds and hundreds of them, who are hadith scholars, and even more women who memorized the Quran and taught it. Even just on the Islamic I don't want to say academia, but the Islamic studies themselves, from the Quran itself to the tafsir itself to the hadith itself, we had dynamic, amazing women. And there is no suggestion that any of these women neglected other people, or were bad wives, or bad mothers, or bad daughters, or bad community women, simply because they chose to spend time mastering something meaningful for them. And so I want us to explore this a little bit, because I know for many people, their question in their mind is, Megan, there's a lot of things I want to do, but my husband isn't going to understand, or he's not going to support me, or he thinks that my role is here in the home only. And when we say those things, we are really harming spiritually and emotionally, psychologically, our sisters in Islam. We're harming women worldwide with these beliefs. Because here's what happens when a woman doesn't pursue things that are naturally meaningful for her. We're not talking about, all these people come and say, oh, you guys want to be like men. No. We're talking about natural inspirations, natural passions, things that light you up and make you feel just filled with life and filled with ibadah, and things that you feel like this is part of your personal journey in pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're talking about those things that just, a person touches them and they just glow. And a lot of us have something like that, and some of us don't. And we need to figure out what it is. But when a man says, yeah, you can do what you want as long as it doesn't affect our home life. Oh, it's such a weighty statement, isn't it? But what does that mean? What it often translates to is a couple of things. One, yeah, you can spend your free time doing things as long as all my needs are met and all the kids' needs are met. But you guys, what's the reality of that? I mean, I don't know about you, but I always want something else the next minute I'm around someone, right? As human beings, we're always in need. We're always in want. We're always wanting things to be the same. We like stability. We like certainty. There isn't going to be a time where it's perfect to suddenly do something new. And so what I hear in those conversations is fear. And a lot of that is fear coming from men who they themselves feel like they're living a boxed life. Their world is in a box. And so it's not spoken, but it's sort of like, if I've got to follow these rules and expectations about me as a man, then you're going to follow rules and expectations of what it means to be a woman or a wife or a mother. I can't break out of my mold. You don't get to break out of yours. And that's not a conscious thought. But, everyone's been raised with a set of rules, a way to think, a way to be. And for many men, what makes them successful has everything to do with what other people think of them, has everything to do with what they get to check off, in society's checklist of a successful man. If you were to ask some of these men, deep down, are you really happy? Are you doing things that are meaningful to you? Are you following things in your life that are meaningful, that light you up, that bring your soul alive? The answer for many of them is no. They're in survival mode. Maybe from their parents, passed on the need for education, need to get a good job, need to get a good salary so you can provide, so you can have all of these things. So they're providing externally, but they're not living life that's fully passionate and meaningful for them either. And that's okay. It's okay for us to not always be able to do everything we want. That's okay, that's life. But it's not okay to close it off from someone else when the option is there. It's not okay to smash someone else's dreams and decide that it's not important simply because you've smashed your own. It's not okay to tell a woman that if she's to take time away from the family's going to fall apart. These kinds of things are manipulative and they're painful, and women carry these, they carry them deeply. And when you don't have anything else to show for your time except what you do in the home, those same women then come out to attack other women, saying, oh, you guys have neglected this and you've neglected that, and we're the one raising the next generation. And it's just really ugly, you guys. But there is a better way, and that is for each person to first ask themselves, what is it that they need to be satisfied? Because there isn't one rule for everyone. For some people, how they raise their children is the greatest fulfillment for them of what it is they want to do. But we can't make one person's fulfillment a rule for everyone else's. So the fact that maybe I am an entrepreneur and I'm creating businesses and things like that, that's exciting for me. That doesn't need to be exciting for everybody. What matters is you find for you what is it lights you up. But let's come back to the spouse. What do you do if your husband doesn't support you? He doesn't give you that extra time and say, yeah, go on, I got the kids, or yeah, no problem, dinner's on me this time. What happens if he's a person that has rigid rules for his life and you have to follow them? How can you approach the situation? First step I always begin is to come into a place of compassion. Understand that if you have a spouse that doesn't know how to make space for your dreams, it's because he likely doesn't know how to make space for his own. He doesn't know how to make space for things that are really meaningful for him. And he feels like he's living in a box, and so his whole world is in a box. It's not personal to you. He'd be like this with anyone, anybody that it would have an impact on him, he's going to have the same response. So first understand that you're looking at a type of programming that's not about smashing your dreams. It's about smashing everything except for what someone told him he had to do. And some people say, but no, men, they have to go out into the world and work and they have to do things. But that has nothing to do with finding what you're passionate about and what's meaningful to you. They can be together. Sometimes they are. Some people are blessed to weave together what their life's greatest work with actually earning income and providing for their family. That's awesome. That's not a lot of people. Men spend a lot of time on things they're excited about. How many people have spouses that watch sports? That has nothing to do with provision. You have spouses that are really excited about doing dawah. That has nothing to do with provision. You have spouses that want to volunteer at the masjid, be involved with the speakers, be there to set things up. That has nothing to do with providing for your family. You have a spouse who's into sports, they go and play themselves. They're on a soccer team, or they're on a football team, or they go play basketball. They're on a swim team. That has nothing to do with provision. You have them going on these mountain treks, or these men's campouts for weekends. That has nothing to do with provision. None of these things have to do with providing for the family. They're everything to do with them finding what lights them up. And so we have to be fair to ourselves, we have to be fair to each other, that we are creating a space for women to find what lights them up, what brings them joy, what brings them happiness, what brings them relief from the struggles of the dunya, what brings them meaning, what gives them confidence. And all of those things come when you're living your life authentically doing what is most meaningful to you. So if that's taking time to paint a beautiful painting, then by all means, please do it, because we need beautiful art in this world. We need a way to express life, whether it's the pain of life in a form of beauty, or love and the blessings of life in a form of beauty. Whatever it is, you deserve to have that space. And so it's time that we examine how we use and when we use things that talk about the responsibility of a woman. You can't take the soul out of a woman. You can't take the meaning out of her. We are in this planet, we are the people that bring children into the world. Children all pass through us, every single human being on the planet. We sacrifice. Love and sacrifice, that is something we know how to do. It's programmed into us. We don't need to be reminded to sacrifice. We don't need to be told about our duties. What we need is the permission to find ourselves, because when everyone has their priorities in line, they naturally will give even more to the people around them, because they are happy and they are fulfilled. When you find what it is that Allah made just you for, what is that gift you have to offer? Yes, to your family first, and then to the rest of the world. Yes, to family first, and then to the rest of the world. You won't have to struggle in your relationships. You'll have the energy for your kids. You'll have the creativity to be there. You'll be fully present when you're with them. You'll be fully present with your spouse, because you've had time to be fully present between you and Allah in doing what is meaningful to you. So I'd love to get your feedback and just your thoughts from that. This is not scripted, so I'm sure someone's going to find some sentence in something I said and pull it apart. It'll have to be explained, but I'm okay with that, because I really wanted to share just where my heart was at this morning, just thinking about the obstacles that women specifically have to overcome whenever we talk about finding passion, finding a dream, doing something meaningful. So I look forward to hearing your feedback. Assalamu alaikum.